I remember the exact moment my life split in two. It was a Tuesday evening. Quiet like any other. The smell of tomato sauce drifted from the kitchen. My daughter was upstairs doing homework, humming softly to a song she played too often. My wife was laughing at something on the television. Ordinary sounds. The kind you don't realize are precious until you know they might disappear. On my phone rang. It was my colleague from the accounting department. His voice was shaking. Did you see the files? I hadn't. But I would soon wish I never had. An hour later I sat alone in my office, staring at the glowing screen. Numbers, transactions, accounts moving money through shells and charities that didn't exist. Millions, then billions, and names. Names of men powerful enough to erase problems quietly. I felt something cold settle into my chest. Because those files were not meant to be seen. And now I had seen them. 2 days later someone followed me home. I noticed the black car in my mirror 3 times before. I accepted it wasn't coincidence. That night, a message arrived. No signature. Just a photo. My wife walking out of the grocery store. My daughter crossing the street after school. Below it, a sentence. Forget what you saw. That was the moment I understood the rules. They weren't threatening me. They were threatening everything I loved. That night I started locking the doors. Not casually. Not like before. I checked them again and again. The windows. The gate. Every shadow outside the house. My daughter's voice came from the hallway. Dad. I forced a smile. Just making sure everything's safe, sweetheart. But inside, I already knew the truth. Nothing was safe anymore. I contacted the authorities quietly. At first, they didn't believe the scale of what I had found. When they finally did, the lead investigator leaned forward across the table and said something that changed everything. If they think you still have a family, he said, they'll use them. There was only one way to protect them. I had to become a man with nothing to lose, so I started disappearing. Late nights, unanswered calls, cold silence at the dinner table. Every time my daughter looked at me with confusion in her eyes, it felt like someone twisting a knife into my ribs. But confusion was safer than the truth. One night my wife confronted me in the kitchen. You're pushing us away. I'm protecting you. From what? I almost told her, God, I wanted to, but the walls had ears now. The less you know, I said quietly, the safer you are. The night my daughter yelled at me was the hardest. Rain hammered the roof. She stood in the living room, eyes burning with anger. You're not protecting us, she shouted. You're abandoning us. For a moment I nearly broke. Nearly told her everything. Nearly held her and begged her to forgive me. Instead I nodded. Maybe you're right. Then I picked up my bag and walked out of the house. Not because I didn't love them, but because I loved them too much to stay. The next 3 years were a blur of motel rooms, coded meetings, and endless waiting. I helped investigators build the case piece by piece. Documents, recordings, witnesses. The men behind the operation were careful, powerful, but they were also arrogant, and arrogance leaves cracks. There were nights I drove past my old street. I never got out of the car. I just watched the house. From the end of the block. Once I saw my daughter walking up the driveway after school. She looked older already. I wanted to run to her. Instead, I drove away. Protecting someone sometimes means letting them hate you. The arrests happened on a cold winter night. Dozens of officers. Simultaneous raids. Years of corruption collapsing in a single operation. When the lead investigator called me, his voice carried something I hadn't heard before. Relief. It's over, he said. 3 simple words. The first time. In years I could breathe without fear. That night I wrote a letter. My hands trembled more than they had during any investigation. Because this was the part that truly mattered. My daughter, if you're reading this, it means things have finally ended. Every word felt like stepping across broken glass. But she deserved the truth. Even if it came late. The next morning I moved into a small house near the edge of town, quiet, anonymous. Safe. I didn't know if they would come. Part of me believed they shouldn't. After all the pain I caused, why would they? Then one morning there was a knock at the door. My heart stopped. I opened it slowly. My wife stood there, and beside her my daughter, older, stronger, her eyes filled with tears. For a long moment none of us spoke. Then I said the only thing I could. Hi, sweetheart. She stepped forward and hugged me. And in that moment, after years of silence and sacrifice, I realized something. That I hadn't saved my family by being strong. That I had saved them by being willing to look like the villain in their story. Until the truth finally had time to catch up.